Hi there, this is Chris Chapman of Motor Legends. Today I want to talk about wet weather riding gear, particularly road riding gear, and in particular, who does it best. I'm going to touch on the pros and cons of drop liner outfits versus laminated outfits. I'm going to explain the conditions to which drop liner gear is most suited and those conditions when laminated gear comes into its own. Given the title of this video, I don't think I'm revealing anything by telling you that Rucker, in our opinion, makes the best wet weather suits that money can buy. And I'm going to go into some detail in order to justify how we come to that conclusion. But when I do eventually get to this point, I will be talking about why most people simply do not need a Rucker suit. And for these people, I'll be talking about alternative strategies that most of the time are going to be more appropriate. No motorcycle suit does everything. Some people think that if they spend enough, they'll be able to avail themselves of the motorcycle suit that will work in all conditions. Unfortunately, this particular holy grail simply does not exist. Any motorcycle clothing with a membrane will start to become uncomfortable once the thermometer hits, I don't know, something like 25, 26 degrees. The same applies to a situation where you're working hard off-road and generating your own heat. Having good vents might improve the position, but provided you are moving through the air at some speed. But the truth is that when you're in hot conditions or when you are hot, a membrane will always cause you to become even hotter. The more extreme the conditions, the greater the level of discomfort. Ultimately, you can find yourself staring in the face of heat exhaustion, and that can be more dangerous than an Amazon driver who's playing catch-up. And let's face it, Amazon drivers are always playing catch-up. Now, if you're going to be out in the very worst and wettest of conditions, if you're going to find yourself in conditions like this frequently or for long periods of time, you're going to want a laminated suit. This bulletin is going to be long enough already, so I'm not going to go into great detail about the differences between laminated and drop liner garments. If you want to understand better the differences between the two forms of construction, then if you click on one of the links below in the descriptions, that will take you to a video that we've done that will explain it all. But the bottom line is this: laminated garments do not allow the rain to soak in. And what that means is that in extreme conditions, you will stay warmer and drier. But there's a problem with laminated clothing. Most of it, frankly, is just not up to the job. The majority of laminated garments are poorly put together. Now, these days, every manufacturer out there wants a laminated suit in their range. But laminated garments are notoriously complicated to put together. And in order to keep prices down, most of the makers cut corners, especially in the crucial area of seam taping. A laminated jacket pant needs to be very carefully taped along the seams. And if this is not done properly, and if it's not done with the best quality tape, then a jacket or pant will inevitably fail. If you're the kind of rider who rarely goes out in the rain, you may find that your laminated jacket works fine for you. But the more miles you do, and the more often you find yourself in inclement conditions, the more likely it is that your laminated suit will let you down. That, I'm afraid, is the truth of it. The only laminated garments that you can rely on to keep the wet stuff out will come with a membrane supplied by Gore. Now, Gore's membranes, it's widely accepted within the industry, perform better than other membranes in terms of their waterproofing qualities and their breathability. But that's not the reason you can rely on them. That's part of the reason you can rely on them, but that's not the main reason you can rely on them. You can rely on Gore's membranes because Gore has a valuable brand that it wants to protect. And to do this, Gore controls how manufacturers incorporate their membranes into garments. Gore dictates how these garments are put together, and as a result, it's almost impossible for a manufacturer to cut corners when they're putting together a Gore-Tex jacket or pant. But there's another reason to trust products made with a Gore-Tex membrane, and that's because Gore backs all of its products with a lifetime warranty for waterproofing. And it's a warranty that I can promise you really works. If your Gore-Tex jacket or pant 10 or even 15 years down the road springs a leak, Gore will normally either send you a replacement or a check. Which is why we here at Motor Legends come to the conclusion that if you want the best, most reliable waterproof gear, it's got to be something with a Gore-Tex membrane. Now, there are lots of manufacturers that work with Gore, and many of them, I suppose, are what you would call mid-market brands. I suppose we're talking about names like Bering, Risha, Revit, Alpenstars, Dainese, Held and Dane. Now, it's not our aim here to sit in judgment about any of these different brands, but in our view, there are three makers that sit head and shoulders above all of the other Gore-Tex brands. These are Rucker, Klim and the less well-known German brand Stadler. For the purposes of this discourse, perhaps unfairly, I'm going to eliminate Stadler. Stadler makes superlative high-quality gear. In fact, they supply every single German police force. Suits are not always the most comfortable, but their huge, somewhat uncompromising armour means that their suits are about as protective as a textile suit can get. But right now there's not a suit in the range that we feel we can recommend. We just don't like the way that any of them fit. Frankly, we don't think they work. In different circumstances, we might be suggesting that Stadler makes the best laminated waterproof garments that money can buy. But as it stands, we're not going to be doing that today. Which leaves Klim and Rucker. Now, Klim offers two Gore-Tex road riding laminated suits, and they are the Kodiak and the Latitude. Both are good suits. Both are A-rated under EN 17092, but the Latitude comes with level 1 armour, and so that combination of an A rating and level 1 armour counts it out for us. An A rating with good level 2 armour is perhaps acceptable, but an A rating with level 1 armour, I'm afraid, just doesn't cut it in this kind of company. Klim's other road suit, the Kodiak, is in some ways a work of art. The jacket in particular has every bell and whistle that you could ask for, and the armour is level 2, although it's got to be admitted that unlike the Rucker and the Stadler armour, Klim's armour is off the shelf and therefore of off the shelf proportions. But the reason that we're going to be passing on the Kodiak today, that we're going to eliminate it at this stage of the proceedings, is because of the trousers that come with the suit. They are simply too wide and flappy for what we would call winter road riding. Now, Klim is very much an adventure brand. In fact, one might say, they own the adventure space. The Kodiak is their premier road riding suit, but it's our view that it has been difficult for our American cousins to get their heads around road riding boots that don't come equipped with large metal buckles. Indeed, both of Klim's road riding pants will accommodate Klim's own huge adventure boots, and that's probably fine for their American customers. But what that means is that with the width of the pants, the trousers will not fit snugly around the ankle of something like, I don't know, a Daytona Roadstar, which is what you'd expect of a European winter riding pant. The Kodiak is without any doubt a fabulous suit, but for commuting through the misery of a very wet British winter, we think that its trousers mean that it's not really going to be the best choice. And so for us, that just leaves Rucker. Now, Rucker has been around for a while, but not everybody loves it. Just about every biker has heard a story about someone who's had a problem with a Rucker jacket or pant. But at times we think that there are some unrealistic expectations that surround the brand. We sell a lot of Rucker, and certainly we don't see that there are any systematic failings with the quality. What we do see is gear that gets a huge amount of abuse. If you do a long daily commute, or if you ride professionally or semi-professionally, you will tend to gravitate towards a Rucker outfit. Now, when a zip gets damaged or a button falls off, owners sometimes feel that they've been let down. They express some kind of disappointment. But a lot of the time, we think these people are simply being unrealistic. If you knock the stuffing out of a jacket or pant through heavy usage, there's going to come a point where something will need replacing. That's not warranty, that is wear and tear. And there's no product anywhere where wear and tear is included in a warranty. A warranty is about faulty manufacture, it's not about wearing things out. But even the most well-heeled of motorcyclists we have found can feel it's unfair if after 4 or 5 years of heavy mileage in their suits, if they're expected to pay out of their own pocket, I don't know, for a replacement button or a repair to a zip. Now, in our view, and we deal with a lot of high mileage bikers here at Motor Legends, Rucker makes pretty much the most robust, best quality motorcycle gear that money can buy. But these guys are not magicians. You can wear a Rucker suit out, and if you do enough miles, you will do exactly that. And if that happens, you may just have to put your big boy trousers on and pay up for a repair. Anyway, apologies, that's my little rant over. Right, Rucker. We reckon in our view that they do the best quality suits, and what's more, they have the best range of suits. They have the most comprehensive range of suits. At the time of recording this video, they had 6 different laminated suits in their range. In terms of protection, all but one of Rucker's suits are AA rated, although ironically our favourite is still the single A rated Nivala. But here's the thing with Rucker. A Rucker A rated suit is going to be equivalent, at least equivalent to anybody else's AA rated outfit, and their AA rated outfits are going to be way better than anybody else's AA rated outfits. And that comes down to the huge level 2 armour that D3O makes specifically for Rucker. Now, a lot of you will have heard of the EN 17092 test. But that test is purely a measure of abrasion and tear resistance of the outer fabric of a garment. It is emphatically not a safety standard, despite what the journalists at Bennett's might have you believe. The standard takes absolutely no account of the armour, even though in an accident situation, the armour will often play a much more important role than a garment's outer chassis. Simply put, abrasion burns are not nice, but it's the armour that protects the bones and potentially the internal organs too. Because Rucker's armour is so large, it gives more protection from impacts than just about any other suit, with the possible exception, I suppose, of the Stadler suit that I mentioned earlier. But here's the thing, armour also plays a critical role in abrasion resistance. When you're sliding down the road at speed, a very large piece of level 2 armour between you and the tarmac can come in mighty handy and save a lot of skin. And so that's why we come to the conclusion that there's not much out there that matches a Rucker outfit when it comes to protection. But we also have to think that Rucker's gear is better thought through than anybody else's. The detailing is incredibly impressive. Things like neoprene built into the collar, storm collars, GTX cuffs, there's the company's anti-glide and air cushion systems in the seats of their pants, and so on. And with 6 laminated models to choose from in the range, you can decide obviously which suit is going to be the most relevant one for the kind of riding you do. After all these years, Rucker also has sizing pretty much sussed. Their gear just fits. The elbow armour tends to sit in the right place, as does the knee armour. And whilst not everyone can be accommodated in, for example, a Rucker jacket, the sizes do go from a somewhat diminutive 36-inch chest right up to a somewhat larger 56-inch. And their trousers, they will come, pretty much every model, they will come in a short, a regular and a long length. Now, taking all these factors into consideration, we have come to the conclusion that Rucker really does make the best wet weather winter riding gear. Rucker has been doing laminated motorcycle gear longer than anybody, and so by now they know how to do it properly. Buy a Rucker suit and it's unlikely that you're going to get wet through the Gore-Tex membrane. You'll be as well protected as you will be in any textile suit. You can choose the features that you feel you'll need. You'll get a suit that works on the bike, and you'll stand a better chance with Rucker than you will with any other brand of getting a perfect fit. You won't find a better made or more robust motorcycle suit. And of course, once you've registered with the importer, you will get an impressive 6-year warranty. All things considered, if you want the best wet weather winter suit, you've got to give serious thought to going for a Rucker. Rucker suits are not inexpensive, but they are, I'm afraid, the best. Of course, I'm aware that for many people, the bike they ride and the gear they wear has less to do with need and more to do with want. I'm also aware that a lot of people buy Rucker because it's expensive and because they like that big R on the back of the jacket. And that's all fair enough, but the fact is that a Rucker laminated jacket is way over the top for most of us. There are actually only a couple of scenarios, 2 scenarios where laminated gear is really of benefit. The first is when you find yourself riding in 3 or 4 hours or more of heavy rain. In these conditions, a drop liner garment, as opposed to a laminated garment, can start to become wet and heavy. It can reach a stage that we know as wet out. Now, that's not just when a jacket or a garment or a pant gets wet. If you're going to ride in the rain, your gear is always going to get wet. Wet out is that stage when the gear is soaking, sopping wet. It's a state where when you hang your jacket up on a hanger, the water will still be dripping down onto the floor. And we admit that when that happens, it is not nice. Technically, if your jacket or pant does wet out, you won't necessarily actually be wet. But with all that water swimming around between the outer chassis of the garment and the membrane, you will feel wet. It can make you feel as though you're wet. But more importantly, you can very quickly start to lose body heat through that wet environment. We apparently lose body heat 20 times faster through a wet environment than a dry one. But be honest with yourself. When did you last ride for 4 hours in heavy rain? Me, I do about 10,000 miles a year, but the last time I found myself out in conditions like that, that was over 5 years ago. And therefore, for me, a laminated suit would just be a complete waste of money. Don't forget that you're going to stay perfectly warm and dry in a drop liner suit in anything less than 3 or 4 hours of heavy rain. And if you do go for a drop liner outfit, you will save money, you will enjoy greater reliability, you'll be more comfortable, and you'll be warmer. Now, there's a second scenario in which you might benefit from going laminated, and that is where you commute more than an hour each way into work. Of course, even then you won't need a laminated outfit on 99% of your journeys, on your trips into work and your rides back home of an evening. But if you ride into work in a veritable downfall for over an hour in a drop liner suit, your suit won't have wetted out by the time you get into your place of work, but it will potentially be quite damp. Damp such that it might not be totally dry by the time it comes to go home in the evening 8 hours later. And on a dark, cold November's evening, that's not very nice. But here's the thing, on a really horrid day, just put a Scott waterproof jacket, Scott waterproof pant over your suit. You'll potentially save yourself a bundle, and actually, when you put a waterproof on the outside of a drop liner outfit, you create something that works better than a laminated suit. But there's another point that I wanted to make about Rucker laminated gear, and it's nothing to do with its waterproofing qualities. As I suggested at the beginning, there are lots of people who buy a Rucker suit because it's expensive and because they think it's the suit that does everything, and they think therefore that it's the best thing to wear when they're going touring. And usually it is simply not. In fact, nearly always a Rucker suit is the wrong thing to wear when you go touring. Of course, if you do find yourself riding in 3 or more hours of heavy rain when you're on tour, your Rucker laminated jacket, your Rucker laminated suit will keep you warm and dry, no doubt about it. But the fact is that normally when we head across the channel, we do so in search of warmer climes. And as the thermometer starts to exceed 25 degrees, we're going to increasingly regret being clad in Rucker head to toe. Not, of course, that anybody else's waterproof gear is going to be any better. In the scenario that I'm talking about, your enemy is quite simply the membrane. If you're going to be riding somewhere warm, you really do not want a Rucker suit. Just leave it at home. Now, there's a tool for every job, and if it's wet and it's cold, then a Rucker laminated suit will do that job better than almost anything else. But if the job is to ride in the heat, then the Rucker is simply the wrong tool. In hot weather, the only solution is to layer, to wear something without a membrane and then to wear a waterproof over the top. But that, I'm afraid, is a whole new video for another day. Well, I hope some of you found that interesting. If you'd like to see more of our wet weather clothing, then visit the website motorlegends.com. If you'd like to learn more about Rucker suits, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you to the dedicated section on our website. When you're there, you can check out the spec on the individual pieces in greater detail. You can check on availability, and obviously if you want to buy a Rucker item, you can do that there and then. Now, when you buy from us, we try to make the process simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on any item of protective wear that you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something to us. Now, we have the best price promise in the business. John Lewis was rightly famed for its never knowingly undersold price promise. We at Motor Legends go one stage better. If you can find one of our competitors selling anything that we sell at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that competitor's price by a full 10%. Now, there are a few terms and conditions associated with what we call our price beat. Nothing particularly onerous, I assure you, but if you are going to price beat us, I suggest you go over to the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. In the future, if you'd like to receive information from us about new products, then you can sign up by going to the website. At the top of every page, there's a piece of script that says newsletter sign up. Click on that, and in future, you'll get our email bulletins. If, however, you prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, we'd be simply delighted if you want to become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking on the button below. Finally, I'd like to make mention of our fabulous little shop here at Motor Legends, based about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. And as I've suggested, it's a small shop, it's got a small footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we have more than £4 million worth of motorcycle merchandise arranged over 3 floors. Technically, that makes us the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the country. But we would like to think that we're far more than just the amount of gear we have here in the building. We're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. When you come to see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, if you're lucky, you might even get to sample one of our delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.